Earlier today, I said that I had some things that I wanted to share regarding self-care. This is a time that's taking a toll on a lot of people's health, not just physically, but mentally as well. I mentioned some cases where that was especially evident. We're dealing with something that's going to take a while, and we need to take care of ourselves in the process. Tony Morgan, with an organization that coaches churches and clergy in their ministry, wrote an article in April entitled "No End in Sight." And these are some of the things he shared in it. Here's the reality. We're not seeing an end anytime soon. Started out novelty. And then, okay, we can do this. And then, this needs to be over. And now, people are thinking and seeing and feeling, I'm not seeing an end, and I'm exhausted. If that is where you are, and it's likely it is, there are some things you can do to help. And right at the top of the list is keeping a gratitude journal. And this is key, writing it down. Write down 3 things in the morning, write down 3 more things in the evening, things that you're thankful for. We need to remember God is good even in these difficult times. Pay attention to it. And you can come back to it later and say, oh yeah, God is good. They might be spiritual blessings. They might be temporal blessings. Write down those things for which you're thankful. 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening. 2, stop watching cable news. Cable news channels make their money by sowing fear and division. Now, that's harsh, but it has long been recognized. If it bleeds, it leads. Those are the kinds of stories that make the headlines. Those are the kinds of stories that lead in the presentation of the news. And they exhaust us. And when they do this, there's no room for sharing the opposite, the good news. And there is good news. Not only this, watching the news constantly is kind of like watching your investments constantly. You shouldn't do that. You'll drive yourself nuts. Watching the coronavirus news is the same. Better days are coming, but we're not going to overcome it overnight. And watching the nightly news or the morning news, whatever, it's going to take a toll. Avoid it. Third, reframe your thinking about this. This is not a short-term thing. The experts are telling us a vaccine is a year out. 15 days to beat the virus, no way. 30 days, no way. Getting back to normal is not happening anytime soon. Only after we have a vaccine will we be able to get back to some form of, quote, normalcy. And as I've already suggested, we want to be careful about the new normal that we create. There are some things about the old normal that should be left behind. We're months away from that new normal. We need to prepare ourselves for that. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Reframe our thinking on that. So that's 3 things. Fourth, take a day off. Make sure you take a day off and turn everything off. Turn off your electronics. Turn off the television. Have nothing to do with any of that. Just pull away from it all. A day off. Sabbath rest is important. God knew that, or he wouldn't have given us that commandment. We have to be intentional about what we do and don't on our day off, so that our minds don't go back to and start working on those things that are waiting for us back at the office or whatever. Be intentional. Take a day off. 5. Right now, we're desperate for connection. And it's easy to overload ourselves with ways of trying to make those connections, to try to prove to ourselves that we are really being productive, we really are making a difference, etc. And some of those things, one, well, may not really be producing results. 2, the investment in them is just taking a terrible toll. And Zoom meetings. You start loading yourself up with webinars and Zoom meetings. You can saturate yourself. It'll be a wear down thing. Don't overdo it. Pace yourself. Create space within your schedule for time for reflection, for meditation, for quiet time. You need it. Next, pray for others. There are people who are indeed facing greater challenges than we have. That's just a reality. We've seen it in the news. Pray for the people who are facing greater challenges. But when we're praying for others, looking for ways to love them, it takes our focus off of ourselves. And that's healthy. The flip side of that is what we call compassion fatigue. We need to make sure that we maintain a balance. But focusing our prayers on the needs of others can be a good thing. It's good for our spiritual health. It's good for our mental health too. Pray for others. Another, get outside. Get some fresh air. Enjoy the bird song. Watch the squirrels. Notice the azaleas blooming. Notice. Feel the breeze on your face and in your hair. Maybe you'll be able to get some yard work done you've been wanting to do. Maybe just get out and go for a walk. Getting outside is good for your mental health. There have been studies that have shown that where streets are planted with trees, mental health is better in those areas than in the areas where there are no trees. Is it because of the trees? Well, I think there could be at least partly that. Get out and enjoy nature. Enjoy God's goodness given to us in God's creation. Another idea that that author presented is start dreaming about the future. Now, he frames it in terms of what can be done in the present. What kind of future can we create within the current constraints? For us, that might mean what can we do for ourselves or for family or for our church within the current constraints? How can we do things differently? Things that maybe we've never tried before. That's part of it. The other part of it, I believe, is thinking about what happens after these constraints are lifted. What do we want our future to look like? You remember, I've talked about that several times. Planning, dreaming for a better future, creating something new, a new normal on the other side. What will you do for yourself or with family after these constraints are lifted? What would you like your future to look like? Spending time with these ideas can be of great benefit to our mental health and helps us with the marathon. This is not a sprint. It is a long distance, difficult slog that we have ahead of us. Take care of yourself. That's the point. Talk to you again soon.